definition alone, they're inferior films. Films.
Sequels suck. Sequels suck. Sequels suck.
Before we crack the whip on this episode, don't forget to go back and listen to Regan, Angus and I talk about Temple of Doom in episode 43. But on that note, welcome back, movie fans. This is the podcast Sequels Suck, and we are talking about, another Indiana Jones film that I think can be as divisive as Temple of Doom for some people, and it is Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And put your hand, don't.
What are you doing? Bad start. How dare you compare this to Temple of Doom?
No, I'm not comparing. I'm saying generalization. There are some people, again, when we're talking pre-Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and there was only 3 movies, I think Temple of Doom was that one that people did, for a while there, have issues with. And
this is revisionist history. This is
no, it's not. It's not, because
people loved it.
It's actually not. But let's introduce Regan and Shaun are back. Regan's back for another Indiana Jones. He's the big Indiana Jones film fan in the room. And Shaun, who's got a lot to say about this film as well.
Well, here's the thing, right? Is that, like, I've been sitting thinking about it, right? And for those who might be listening,
he's backpedaling immediately.
I'm not backpedaling. No. Like, and I've been thinking about it, right? For those that might be listening, Angus and I vehemently disagree about this film, right?
Very much so.
But I think it would be a mistake to turn this podcast and this is your fucking rodeo, boys, but I think it would be a mistake to turn this podcast into a comparison piece. I like Crystal Skull better than this and that because of this and that, right? But I also think that it was going to be a very hard task to do that because it is part of a canon, and it can't really exist without the other films at the same time. But you're wrong, Angus.
So fuck you on your own show.
But genuinely, right? Genuinely, I'm not going to push back against you, right? Because for some reason, this film has got all the haters in the world, which it absolutely blows my mind, given that Dial of Destiny exists.
No. We were not going to. Let's just try and put that to the side. That doesn't exist. We've got to try and put this in its
One
bubble.
of the best points I was going to make is how this movie is better now that Dial of Destiny's come out.
Totally agree. It gives it a reason to be.
Exactly, especially the final
this movie.
scene.
The one thing this movie does do is it gives one of the best things about Dial of Destiny, in that it has this real like emotional core to it, because Mutt is dead.
That's it.
Spoilers. And
That's
it really gives Indy somewhere to go. And both, like, from a story point of view, like, it gives Indy somewhere to go, but also from like an audience point of view watching, everyone was like, yes, correct. Thank you for doing that. We're glad you corrected that error.
I don't even think it's that. I just think that scene in Dial of Destiny is hands down the best scene in that film, and Harrison sells the shit out of it. And then at the end of Crystal Skull, which I only just finished watching, there's the scene where he says, he says, stick around, Junior. And he goes, why didn't you, Dad? And that hits so much harder when you know in 10 years that kid's dead. I think
also that line makes no sense. Stick around, Junior. Why didn't you, Dad? Oh, until 2 days ago, I didn't know you existed. Your mother never told me. Get that, so don't hold that shit against me, you brat.
That's some David Kep for you.
I don't remember that part of Dial of Destiny that you're talking about.
Oh, really? Oh, it's
really?
like it's
I don't remember anything about Dial of Destiny.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole, because we're going to speak about that separately. So let's just stay focused on the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, because I think Dial of Destiny has a lot. We can do a whole other episode on that easily. Okay. And I don't want to compare. I want us to sort of, I guess, focus in on, this came out in 2008, a long time after The Last Crusade, when we thought they rode off into the sunset.
18 years.
For us to never see them again, and they brought some people back, and let's just pretend we're back in 2000. Well, like, when did we all see it? I'm assuming we all saw it at the cinemas when it first came out.
Yes.
I don't
No.
remember actually
Yeah,
if I
like
did
first-
or not. I know I saw it
first
around
week.
that time, but
Yeah.
it might have been cinema.
I even
The
had
one thing I just have to have one question, officer, is me and
Me or
Sean
him?
just on this podcast now? Is there because it's either one or the other or both at the moment, and I love it. I'm here for it. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm just asking, because it gives me more. I'd be able to say more things if I'm.
Oh, are you going to give us more? If
No,
Oh,
if I've got-
is this your official like push for third chair? This is what you're doing. You're like,
because if I'm tenured, then you can't get rid of me. You know what I mean? You can't fire me like Indy if I have trouble
depends
with
how
the Ruskies.
closely your opinions on this movie align with mine.
That sounds about corporate, right? Yep, absolutely.
Well, I have a confession to make in regards to this film. I was so excited when I heard a new indie movie was coming out that there was a time when Lucasfilm had a store. I'm just trying to think what it was called, and it was obviously a lot more Star Wars related merchandise. But they had shirts like Indiana Jones, Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls, because they just announced the title. So it's got that on the front. It's a white. It's got the Lucasfilm logo and the hat with the whip on the arm, and then it's got the date that it came out, was releasing on the back. And geez, I can't remember how much that cost me because I remember the shipping costs a lot. But I was like, I just want that shirt.
I was going to say,
I'll have to show it on
social
socials because I couldn't find it today. So I know it's somewhere in a special place somewhere, but I'll put that on socials. But I remember I was pretty amped. I remember wearing it to the cinema for the movie, and yeah, it's definitely a film worth talking about. Look, I'm a little bit more. I'll be honest, I'm a little bit more in the Shaun camp. I don't think it's terrible, but if you want to compare it to the first three movies, I don't think it's always going to stack up. But I do think there's some
100%.
positive stuff.
I don't even think you need to compare it to the first three films to judge it. Like, obviously, when you're looking at the original trilogy of Indiana Jones, like very few things stack up against that in cinema history. It's a rare achievement that those three films are as good and beloved and long-lasting as they are. Very few trilogies that we've seen that have ever done it, that have sort of stuck the landing, and people have gone on to just be obsessed with, not a quote-unquote franchise, but an actual, like, just three movies. Back to the Future did it. Star Wars, before we got into the recent era of Star Wars, did it. There was a few trilogies that people like. Those three movies friggin' rock. So I think, I'm hearing your point about, like, let's not try and compare this to the other indie movies. I think one of the things that, look, and I'll like, obviously, as we've alluded to, my opinion of this film is low. I'm coming to this episode like, I want to be convinced. I'm going to tell you guys why I think it doesn't work. I want to open my heart to love and joy of Indiana Jones, because I friggin' love Indiana Jones, and I love Steven Spielberg, and I love Harrison Ford. That's probably why this one hurts so much. But this film, on its own, and as a part of the first three films, and now as a part of a 5-film franchise, top to bottom, just it doesn't work as a movie, as an entry into the Indiana Jones lore, as a Steven Spielberg film, as a Harrison Ford. Like, any way you want to approach this, like, God help me, even John Williams' score isn't hitting in this one, and that never happens.
Oh wow, okay, yeah. Well,
I'm much like you, because I was actually talking to a friend of mine, and as I was watching, because I rewatched it, and I've watched Crystal Skull since I didn't see it at the cinema. I was at film school at the time. I had no time and I had no money to go to the movies when I was at film school. So I waited till it came out in DVD, and I saw it then, and I was genuinely shocked at how much vitriol and hate it got. Like it's not a great film, right? But it's not a bad film, right? I like it's there's some misguided moments in it. It suffers Godfather 3 syndrome, right? Is that if you take Godfather 3 in and of itself, it's perfectly competent. Like, it's middle of the road, right? But when you stack it up against the other ones, then it kind of falls short. Crystal Skull is the same. Take Crystal Skull in and of itself, and I disagree with you guys. Like, I think Crystal Skull works. I don't think it works all the time.
Yeah.
But I think it works sometimes, and I certainly think it works more often than other films' successes, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot to love in Indiana Jones. There's a lot to be frustrated at, but there's a lot to love. And I honest to God, Gus, like, I fucking love you, brother. I cannot get my head around how much you hate this film, because it doesn't make sense.
Well, let's. I want Regan to quickly chime in before we get to Angus, because Angus is going to start reeling off the things he doesn't like, and maybe we'll discuss those things as. But Regan, like, where are you sort of feeling like you sit? You're a big indie fan.
I am. He's my favourite
and
cinema hero.
And I don't know who just said it, whether it was Gus or Shaun, about comparing, but I mean, we kind of have to have it. It's kind of its own thing still, but at the end of the day, this is a podcast about sequels, and it follows on from 3 fairly solid films, whether you like them or not. And then you've got this one, which is so far removed in that, from a timeline point of view, it came out, like we said, 18 years after. Still at its core, it's Harrison Ford, Spielberg, and George Lucas. But it's still, I think, still vastly different in a lot of ways. It's still got the indie themes and all that sort of stuff, but it's still. Regan, speak to me.
I think I'm definitely in the more positive out of everybody. Like, I really forgive this movie for a lot of its faults. Monkey scene with the swinging through the trees. But still, I mean, that CG looks better than some CG that's done now. Did anybody see Ant-Man Quantumania? Like, fuck my hole. That is just outrageous.
But bad CG that's better than horrible CG is still bad CG.
Yeah. Oh, I don't disagree. I'm just saying, considering the distance these films have, you would think they'd be a bit better on this end. But yeah, there's definitely some things that don't work. The editing's quite clunky, because they're having to cut around the fact, again, like they did in Dial, that Harrison Ford is an older gentleman. But I think the thing that really sells it, and it is the Spielberg of it, I mean, he was rushed into production on it because they were like, we're going to make this in the next 2 years or we're not doing it. And they were like, all right, and punched out a script that they'd been apparently back and forthing on for ages and ages.
A long time.
And finally got it out there. And the mutt of it all, and, the interdimensional aliens or whatever. But for me, it's the pedigree of the filmmaking, of the style of an Indiana Jones film is still there. It's that first shot where you see him, and it's the silhouette 100%. And the hat goes on, and the turnaround. You can't 100%. Beat it. And it's Harrison, like he's here for it. He is this character. It's the excitement that he has when he's telling Mutt that he's able to translate this by going backdooring his way through Mayan, and it's that he's the lovable heroic nerd, and that's what gets me every time. It's that character.
So Angus, give us the first thing that you hate, or something you don't like.
If he gets out a huge scroll and rolls it out like a cartoon and it goes forever, I'm going to just disconnect because I can't even be here.
I want to steer away from the word hate. I really want to try and
or things that you don't like.
The show's called Sequels Suck. What are you talking about?
out of the gates, I gotta.
All of a sudden now you're all precious?
I'm going to start with the most basic bitch thing. And I think it's worth telling the audience, when we were discussing about doing this film in the chat, one of the first things I said was this is the first film that I watched after my wife died.
Yeah,
because
that's context.
I just need to see something worse.
Well,
that was how I approached.
But
joke.
I'll defend you on that too, because I do think, I talked about this in Temple of Doom episode, that unfortunately when the excitement of the first time I was going to see Temple of Doom was the night I actually got the phone call that my uncle had died. And so for a long time, that movie I never really sat well with me, never really went back to it. So, if you have a link to some bad event, you're probably not going to have a high opinion of a movie. Whether
no. I'd already seen Crystal Skull. I deliberately put it on to my time so that I could match the film with the bad memory. But
I job during Howard the Duck.
I
can't watch that movie anymore. It's ridiculous. I couldn't do it.
Lucas,
Jeffrey Jones came
just
on
keeps
screen.
fucking us.
It's soft.
The first thing I do want to query, though, and this is a genuine query because it annoys the shit out of me, but I want to see if you guys can correct me. So, Raiders of the Lost Ark is about a lost ark. Mm-hmm. Temple of Doom is about a temple where Doom takes place. Last Crusade is about the Last Crusade.
Okay, yeah.
And a Dial of Destiny is about the Dial of Destiny. Can anyone here clarify for me what a kingdom is?
It's searching for the Mayan kingdom of El Dorado.
Do they have kings or queens in this Mayan empire? Or do they have chiefs?
I don't know.
Kings and Queens is not something.
I'm not fucking Indiana Jones. I'm not a
I'll tell you right
historian.
now, nothing in this movie is a kingdom. There is no kingdom of a crystal skull. There is a Mayan temple of a crystal skull.
Yeah.
There is a group of people worshiping a crystal skull. There might be a chieftain of a crystal. There's no kingdom.
It should
They
have
didn't even think through the title.
Well, yeah. I did hear, and you guys have probably heard this as well, that there was a lot of discussion on the title leading up. Like, I think George Lucas had an idea for the title. David Cope had a title. Steven Spielberg had a title. There was a lot of back and forth. I think they went for the long, clunkier version of the title. And you probably right, I hadn't really thought about it, but it really should be the Gods of the Crystal Skull or something like that, because I
think they just couldn't think of another word for temple. They're like, we can't use temple again. Yeah. So what else have we got? And they went, Meh.
Can I just interject? I just wanted to clarify before I actually said something, but a kingdom can also be the spiritual reign of something. So maybe it's talking about crystal skulls being worshipped as deities.
You've just put more thought into it than anyone on that script, I feel. But I appreciate it.
I'll get a call tomorrow.
But the thing that this is genuine. This is my first problem with this movie is it starts
with the gophers
tone. It starts with the go. No, I don't even mind that transition. I like that transition from Paramount to the Gopher Mound, but I feel like it starts the wrong tone because Indiana Jones is an archaeologist. He's an adventurer. What does Indiana Jones do? He goes into temples. He goes into jungles. He goes and finds these lost places. This movie starts with a drag race in Roswell, and it doesn't start with Indy. It starts with these kids racing the army, and I get it's cool, like, oh, Indy's in the trunk, and then we get the reveal, and we get the silhouette of the hat on. Sure, but this movie is telling us right from the gate, like, don't expect Indiana Jones to be the focus of this movie. We're not actually focusing on him. And what they do for the most part is they focus on telling the audience in every way they possibly can, hey, remember the 50s? Like, none of the other ones bother with slapping us in the face with what era we are watching. They're like, yeah, it's based on the old serials from like 30s and 40s. This one is like, hey, Red's Under the Bed and Daddy-O and Greasers and Joe College and drag cars. And it just, like, it keeps screaming in your face.
As soon as I still remember when I first saw it at the cinemas and I saw that sort of chase scene and I was like, oh, has George Lucas put that in there because of American Graffiti? That's just his little throwback to...
He's obsessed with that era. I'm not surprised that he really pushed to put in.
Okay, I'll play devil's advocate. I hear what you're saying, but if you're setting a film in a different era, don't they have to show? Hang on, this is Indiana Jones movie, but we're not in the 30s anymore. We're past that. We're past World War II.
We're in the 50s.
Yeah,
he does the same thing in Temple of Doom as well. Like, he screams at you every chance you get. We're in India. Look at our strange culture. Look at the strange things that we eat.
In the other one, they show you the place and the adventure. In this one, they're screaming like reference to a point in history, not a place in the world. In fact, it is 36 minutes. 36 minutes until they even get out of the city in this movie. Indiana Jones does not belong in the city. The big action set pieces are at Roswell, and then they are at the university, and then they are running around on horrible bike chases where Indiana Jones is a cuck. He is not the hero. He's riding around in the bitch seat on the motorbike. Like, he's not the hero in this movie. He's not the focus in this movie. He's not even the genius in this movie. The only thing Indiana Jones does in this movie is he connects with Ox. Ox has all the information, the intelligence, and then Marion is the one who, like, somehow brings them together because, oh yeah, that's actually your son. But Mutt is the one doing the legwork. And then what does Indiana Jones do? He gets Mutt to Ox, and then Ox gives him all the information, and then he's like, all right, let's follow the crazy man. Like, he's not the hero of this movie.
So who's the hero?
There is none.
No,
there's no
I disagree.
Hero in this movie.
Indiana Jones is the hero.
Movie.
Indiana Jones is the hero. Indiana Jones is the one who...
Councillors, please. Can we just order in the court? Order in the court.
He's the one that deciphers the map at the beginning, the code, and then he's the one that takes them to the Mayan temple, and then they find the original crystal skull. Everybody ends up running around. He's the one that gets it. No,
But Ox is the one who put it there. Ox is the one who found it and then put it there. And then they need Ox to figure out how to put it back because everything's fucked since Ox took it. And now the Russians are going to get it.
But they can't get to Ox without Indy. They're not getting to Ox. They can't get to Ox because of Mutt.
But if you take Ox out of this movie, like, what's Indy doing? He's got no information. He's got no way to actually get anything done.
But isn't that always the case? Ox
That's
is
always
just
the
He's always
case.
the one
He's
who's figuring out the
Indiana
clues from,
Jones.
like, think of him in Last Crusade, and think of him in Temple of Doom, and think of him in Raiders. Like, he's the one who is solving the clues left not by an individual who's still alive. Like, he's solving the clues from centuries ago and putting together pieces no one in history has ever thought to put together. And in this one, he's like, oh, Ox has figured it all out. We've just got to find Ox, and Ox will tell us what to do.
But then when they do find him,
But then when they do
he's
find Ox,
indecipherable. He is
yeah,
basically
still has to
the
decipher Ox.
proxy for whatever the artifact is. So instead of the diary in Last Crusade, you've got him. Instead of the piece of parchment in Temple of Doom,
100%.
you've got him. Like he's
100%.
what's the word for it again?
MacGuffin.
MacGuffin. Thank you.
Yeah.
But what that reduces
Ox
into
is a
is just
MacGuffin.
someone who spends this movie walking around following other people. Like,
Yeah.
he follows Mutt around, and then he follows Marion around, and then he follows Ox around. Like, Indy, he's just following other people around in this movie.
Marion joins him.
But she's already got more information than him when he gets there.
But that's how
So,
that's what
that's how
a
mystery
hero's
works.
arc is. Like you can't
That's how
learn things at the
mystery
same
works.
speed he does. You know,
And he doesn't save Marion.
she saves
She
herself.
doesn't need saving.
It's the tree
Exactly.
thing going into the ocean, and he's like, "Don't ever do that again." She's like, "Whatever, dear." Like,
So he doesn't save Marion. He doesn't save Mutt. He doesn't save Ox. He doesn't kill the Russians.
He does save Mutt. He blows the dart into
does
that
save
guy's
Mutt.
throat. Did you watch it?
I watched. I didn't.
You
I
watched
don't
it?
count that. I don't count that death dart shit. Mutt had
He's
a
like,
shot.
stay
that's
here, and he
convenient.
reacts
Because the
to it.
first dart gets shot, the guy has a clear shot, point blank range, and he still misses Mutt. So when he's got the second shot, I don't feel like Mutt's in any real danger.
Yeah, but he's been underground for ages. He's got dirt in his eyes. He's a little ninja. Like, just it's the kid from that fucking show. He from
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. or
Teenage
something,
Mutant
isn't it?
Ninja Turtle 2.
Oh,
He was
Eddie
probably
Rose
tired
Jr..
from fighting Raphael with chorizo or whatever happens in that picture.
But that's how mysteries work. Is the hero is the one that puts it together, and he collects information, and he collects compatriots along the way, and each compatriot, by necessity of the story, has to bring something new to the mystery. Otherwise, they're superfluous. So that's what he does.
I mean, they are
Jones
superfluous.
goes-
Like,
Indiana Jones goes, and then he meets Mutt, and he gets a little bit of information, and then he meets Marion, he gets a little bit more information, and he meets the Russians, and he gets a bit more, and then he meets Ox, and he gets a bit more, and then he solves it at the end.
but he
It's
doesn't solve
Joseph
it. He doesn't
Conrad's
solve anything.
like arc of the hero is that they find people who are sage, and that's how the story progresses.
That's how it works. That is what a
Like,
mystery is.
What's the example in the other films that is not that? Like, because Indy's got, as he goes along, like, you just look at Temple of Doom. So he goes there, and first he gets information from the military guys and the guy who's the works for the Maharaja, and then he gets information from actually finding something, and then he's in the actual bowels of it, and he sees what's his name, that guy.
Molaram.
And Molaram explains to him what's happening. Like, it's all the information gets passed out by people.
That's how it works.
But I kind of disagree, but I can kind of see what Gus is saying too. I think this one did feel like he probably doesn't have as much agency as maybe the other three films, or maybe in control. He said, like, yeah, he's learning and picking up information as he goes along, but maybe not as successful, or maybe he lucks into meeting people along the way in this one more so than the other films.
I'm not saying that what Gus is saying is
in
wrong.
this movie? Like, what does Indiana Jones actually solve?
Say again, sorry.
What does Indiana Jones solve in this movie?
The how to flood that valley real quick. He figured it
Again,
out.
the aliens do that.
The map. The first of all, he solves the map thing.
To find Ox, the one in the nun prison that they find.
No, the Nazca lines.
Before that, when he was like, oh, if I go through Mayan, I can work it backwards through Mayan and blah blah. And then that takes him to the little room, and then when he's in the room, fucking so the writing and that, and then he sees the writing, and then he solves the mystery, he solves the clue and that, and then fucking like I don't know.
Okay, I'll give you that. He
don't understand what you mean.
he solves the map, but where does the map take him to?
Peru.
To
Ox. It takes him to Ox. It takes him to the guy who actually knows what the hell is going on.
Yeah, but his diary takes him to his dad in Crusade.
In the Last Crusade, the clues that he solves takes him to the knight.
Yeah,
and
but then what
the knight
happens?
gives him the
Then what
last bit of
happens at the end?
information. Does
His
that
dad
make
gets taken
Indiana
out of the
Jones not a hero?
equation. His dad gets taken out of the equation, and who has to figure it out at the end? Who has to figure out what the Grail is, and who has to save the day?
Yeah.
Like
You make a
in
very
every
solid
other
argument.
Indiana Jones movie, it gets to a point where everyone else becomes either unable or unwilling or incapacitated and can't help him anymore, and Indiana Jones has to figure out how to save the day. And that's it is always Indiana Jones save. In this one, Indiana Jones does not save the day. Ox has the information, and then the aliens save the day. And then Indiana Jones gets wet and gets married, and that's it.
And Marion gets that as well, but
Like it's almost worse than the
other way
Raiders
around.
of the Ark problem, where like the whole thing with Raiders of the Ark is like he just never shows up. That movie is the same. But in this one, is like he literally like he doesn't save the day. He's Indiana Jones. We waited 18 years for him to come back and put on the fedora, and he's not the hero in the movie. And worse than that, like he's sidelined.
But he is the hero of the movie. I see what you mean. That he's not the one that puts the finale together in the temple with Ox and all that and fucking blah 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 blah. But we can't get to that without Indiana Jones. Take Indiana Jones out, and the film can't exist.
Well, Matt, you said yourself, Marion saves herself. Marion's already on the hunt for Ox. You take Indiana Jones out of this, Marion's going to get herself out of the fix. She's going to find Ox, and then Ox and Marion will go and deal with this problem.
But no one's
How
going
do
to
you
go
know
to a
she's-
movie
how-
called
how do you know
Marion
she's
and
gonna
the
find
Temple
out?
of the Crystal Skull. Oh, Kingdom. Sorry, I said Temple. I fucked it up.
See, it's a better title.
It's a
Yeah,
better.
I can imagine the big orange letters of Ravenwood, and just that was
Hey, actually, that's dope. That's actually really cool. I like that a lot.
I was wondering when I watched it this time, why isn't Marion the Ox character? Because she kind of isn't given enough to do in this. Like, why isn't
Neither
why
are
isn't
they.
Mutt coming like Mum's disappeared, and then they go and find her, Marion's all fucked up because she stares in the skull. Like, we've had all this time for her. That's another problem I have with it, and I don't want to like turn into a whiny
Well,
bitch.
just
That ship has sailed.
But just before finishing up on but just to finish up though, the point to sort of, I go kind of a little bit to support Angus too, that there is that moment when Indy says, I'll take the skull by myself, and they're like, no, we'll come with you. And he goes, no, I'll do it myself. And they're kind of like, no, we're going to do it as a team. And it does.
He literally says, no, I'll do it. And then
away from-
no one says anything. And then it cuts to the next scene and they're just all there. So obviously he has no power.
Yeah,
So they just
and
ignore him.
I hear what you're saying, Gus. Now, the more I think about it, it does feel like it's not like he's doing it by himself. Especially like Last Crusade, he goes through those steps by himself. He's thinking about his dad. He's thinking about the diary, but he still has to get to that end point by himself. But this
But
one
along
was
the way,
like, oh,
who
this
does the
is a team
motorbike
effort.
chase? Mutt. Who does the chase through the jungle? Marion. Who does the swinging through the vines? Mutt. Like, even in the bits that are like, here's the cool action stuff, the first time he actually does cool Indiana Jones shit is like an hour and 34 minutes in when he fights the Russian guy around the ants.
Around the
And
ants.
that's like the first cool bit that he gets to do.
That's right on, yeah.
He doesn't, the rest of it, he's kind of sitting or standing, not being Indiana Jones.
Do you reckon that's a product of? I mean, I know he was in one again more recently, but a product of Harrison's age, and also the fact that they were kind of felt like they were trying to get Shia LaBeouf in there to take over.
They were absolutely setting up this movie for the next one to be Henry Jones III.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, like I know if you look at those two, like if you look at the what's the name of the actress who plays Marion?
Karen Allen.
Karen Allen. If you look at Karen Allen, Harrison Ford, and you at Shia LaBeouf, like, I mean, this guy is 2 inches shy of a midget. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way. Like, his son should be Glenn fucking Powell or something like that.
My God, can you imagine if they had have cast Glenn Powell? Like, I would have watched 6 movies with
he
Glenn
would have
Powell
been
as Indiana
19
Jones
or something. It
III.
would have been perfect. You know what I mean?
I would have been all for that.
I think that was.
Apologies,
they
little
saw
person.
his.
Excuse me.
I think Spielberg saw the star rising at the time, and also obviously had influence because he was the executive producer on Transformers and stuff. So that's I think
Shia
they thought,
LaBeouf executively produced that shit, or you
No,
mean
it's Spielberg. It's Spielberg.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So Shia was
also
he was on the rise at the time, and they probably thought, let's get this guy in. And you're right, like maybe there could be a good spin-off. It's
forgotten as well these days, but Shia LaBeouf, genuinely good actor.
He's a great actor.
Very good actor.
really good.
When he dials in, he's fucking awesome.
He's
Absolutely.
incredible. I think he's been lost
great
to
in
time.
Megalopolis, like recently, he was really good. You know.
when he had his flip out in New York, it was at a place called Union Square, and that I mean, I used to work around the corner from Union Square, and Union Square Cinema was where I used to go to the movies. And I showed up like an hour after Shia LaBeouf and I've never been so gutted in my life. What I wouldn't have given, I would have fucking sat there just watching Shia LaBeouf have a fucking breakdown in front of me. Like, I'd have no problem with that. No problem with that.
He would have climbed you like a fucking tree, mate, and just pounded you down, man. I'm sure.
Once I conquer this mountain.
No, he would have climbed you like a tree and then gone, "Take me away from here."
Yeah.
And then just hugged you while you ran, and he wept.
Or swung off at you with a bunch of monkeys.
Yes.
I also like the fact that Cable is kind of Switzerland here. Like, we're all the UN going, "We want the nukes. You can't have the nukes." And you're just going, "Hey, everybody be quiet."
I think he knew coming into this, like, this one could get heated, and he needed to keep us all in check.
Also, I don't know why all of those people were from the same place as well. That doesn't make any sense if you're at the UN.
No, it's just, we're in Australia. Everyone sounds the same.
Yeah, exactly. They were all Germans. That's right. Yeah.
All right. So, what's complaint number 2?
Oh fuck! Are we doing that? Are we?
Now I've gotten so distracted, I've forgotten what the hell I was going to bitch.
Well,
about.
can I throw something out?
Please do.
One of my issues, and again, watching it again today, it's like I really have a big issue, and I know Sean's going to probably come back at me at something from another Indiana Jones film that's just as ridiculous, but I think when they get to the jungle, not just the swinging on the vines, I think that whole section of the trucks going along the cliffside, the swinging on the Mutt fighting on the sword with his legs on both trucks, all that ridiculous stuff, and then falling down the 3 waterfalls is the most ridiculous section of this movie that really just took me out of the film. I was like, oh, come on. Like, I know, the Temple of Doom, obviously the life raft they jump out of the plane with, and there's ridiculous parts in the other 3 movies. But you know what it is? You know what the weird thing is? I think sometimes we can suspend disbelief when it's kind of done sort of for real or with real props, when you start doing too much stuff with CGI, it looks shit as well. And you can't feel, it takes you out of the movie. And I think there's way too much CGI in all that section. And it just doesn't sit right. And that's, for me, the part that really is a struggle to watch, or just I think just kind of ruins the movie. I think there's so many good elements to this film. It's just that section just kills me. And even the fire, I think even the fire ants at points, it's just like, that's ridiculous too. I just think it's a bit too over the top.
When they carry the body into the hole, fuck off. That doesn't happen. Yeah. But I mean, suspending disbelief, it is about interdimensional aliens. But you're right. That set piece, that's your big end of your second act set piece. That should be the motherfucker. Like that should be, that's the tank chase in Raiders. Like that's what you should be on the edge of your damn seat. And it doesn't work. You're absolutely right. I don't disagree with that at all.
I half agree and I half disagree. And then I have to agree.
Half.
I know the old half. You gutless coward, Crawford. Get off the fence. No, I genuinely, I half because I think if we take the two trucks, next to each other and the fucking legs and all kinds of, like, what are you laughing at?
Did you say you're a gutless coward? Get off the fence.
Yeah, you're a gutless coward,
fence.
Crawford. Get off the fence.
I thought you said fent, as in fentanyl. I'm like, I don't think people who take fentanyl are cowards.
This episode is actually an intervention, Regan. We're very worried about you, mate.
Yeah, me and the fent.
I think for the most part, for me, those sequences are definitely sequences of 2 halves, and in both sequences, the beginning works better than the end. Right, the 2 trucks, going at it, and the fucking sword fight and all that kind of stuff. For me, it's solid Spielbergian. It's not great Spielbergian. He's done much better, but you're watching it and you can see, this is Spielberg. It doesn't feel like somebody who's been nominated heir apparent or something like that. It feels like a choreographed Steven Spielberg moment where you're like, the camera's constantly moving and people are being directed and it's not shot for coverage. And then both sequences drop the ball by having the monkey swing scene where you're just like, come on, guys. Like, Like I was willing to go with it until this point, and now you've pushed me over the edge. And then the same thing with the waterfalls as well. I think there's a lot of good in the waterfalls and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of good interaction between the characters, you know, like fucking the splashes and all that, and you fucking blah blah blah, and yeah, just narrowly dodge everybody, and you know, and then you got to go over that fucking last one, and you're just like, oh come on, guys, like all those sequences, and that's that for me. This is the most frustrating thing of the film, is that it's not a bad film. It's what I call an almost film. It's almost a good film, and it's almost a great film. It's a good film. It's almost a great film. If we'd have just nudged it a couple of times, if we'd have sorted out the title and made it a bit clearer, it would have helped. If we could have sorted out the finale and not fucking dropped the ball at the end of these sequences, it would have fucking helped. At the moment, it's 3 stars, and it's because of that. It just seems time and time again, get all these great cast members in. Kate Blanchett, Ray Winstone, John Hurt, fucking everything. And then don't give them anything to do, right? They're all giving it the best that they've got. And for that to me, that's we're halfway there. We've got all these great people showing up, being directed by a great director in a movie that's beautifully shot by Darius Kaminsky. Like but we're not giving it everything. We're not giving it everything that it needs. And that's what, for me, that's the frustration, is that take greatness and we're just clipping off the fucking top of every single fucking time, which kind of leaves you half satisfied over and over and over again. But half satisfied, a Spielberg directed Indiana Jones film that's half satisfying, to me, is still better. Still fucking better than anything that Marvel's done in the last fucking 10 years. Like it's much more satisfying. It's disappointing, but it's much more satisfying. But I do, for what it's worth, I do agree with you on that point, Gus, is that first beginning's great, drop the ball at the end consistently all the time.
To come back with a positive, you're right though when you say it was beautifully shot, and
yeah, I'll give it that.
It's really stunning. You guys watched who had it on 4K? Just me and you, Cable?
I've just got Blu-ray.
Yeah.
The 4K.
I watched it in 4K. Yeah.
For a transfer for a 4th film in a series like this, which is the end of that box set, that it's not, the 5th one isn't part of it. It's amazing because it goes down in quality when you watch the original Batmans. It's like 89 and Returns look great, and then Forever's all right, and then Batman Robin were like, no one's going to watch this disc anyway, so fuck it, and just give it up.
Every 10 years for the rest of my life, I'm going to watch that fucking movie. I don't know why. I don't mean to. It's just happened so far, and it's going to keep happening. And I've just accepted it.
The other thing to kind of like, to be on your camp a little bit, Gus, as well, so you know that I can be Switzerland too. The thing that understanding that these films, a lot of them live in a supernatural realm. And so like he says in Dial of Destiny, it's like, a lot of strange things have happened in my life. It's not what you believe, it's how hard you believe it. Absolutely. We got to remove ourselves from the reality of what these films are. However, in this film, it's the first time it feels like what they did with Die Hard, where John McClane went from this, cop who was completely like fallible and completely killable and, ends up with bloodied and bruised and bashed and nearly dead at the end of the film, to a guy who slides down the side of a fucking F-16. Indiana Jones is a guy who gets poisoned in a fucking nightclub because he's doing backdoor deals with, the Triad or whatever, to a guy who can survive in his 60s falling down 3 separate waterfalls, and where he's swinging at the beginning and falls back into the truck.
Getting blown up by an atom bomb inside of a fridge.
I can't believe we haven't talked about it.
He would be mince. The dude would be absolute mince if you open that fridge. It's ridiculous.
And I think the fridge is one of the big problems with this movie. I don't mind that bit. I get it's an Indiana Jones movie. It's a Spielberg movie. Like, we're here for fun. I don't mind that they did that. They can't do it at the start of the movie. It's too absurd. It's too big, too quick. It's literally like,
agree. Yeah.
He's getting blown miles through the air in a freak.
Which seems ridiculous to be like
suspension to disbelief is one thing, but that is asking the audience to accept that he is now essentially a cartoon character who is going to have Scooby-Doo-like antics in this movie. And what that also does is it removes any tension. There is
Yeah.
no risk to Indiana Jones in this movie because he
Unkillable.
starts by getting shot through the sky by an atomic bomb in a fridge.
Yeah.
From that point on, you know nothing's going to kill him.
And you got to ask, where were all the other fridges? I only saw one fridge.
Like, as in, every one of those houses had one, and his is the only
fridge.
one. Maybe it was something to do with the weight distribution.
Yeah,
But it says on the door, it's like lead lined.
I can't
You're like,
believe
oh,
it's-
okay. But it's not like inside. It's like the walls of a nut house. Like, they're not padded. Like, he'd be knocked up. He would break a hip minimum.
But I
Joe,
think because they...
I reckon he was pretty.
incinerated.
I reckon he was pretty compact in
Would
that.
be
But
cooked in there.
I feel like the more real thing, if he's going to survive that, the fridge doesn't go flying through the air like a catapult, but also he doesn't just roll out and get out. Like, I think they find him alive in there or something like that. Like, that's more a little bit. I would find a bit more believable. You're right. I mean,
But again, for me, it's like this, like that opening 20-25 minutes. I thought, I'm like, yes, I'm fucking here. I'm here for it. Indiana Jones is back. We're in good hands. There's a great fucking action sequence, and and then he gets on the fucking rocket, and he's fucking like, and then like you're just, and it's the same thing. It's half of it's great, and then they fucking drop the ball at the end with this.
I want to see your one-man show with this movie. That was excellent. That explanation.
but we all know the reference for the fridge, yeah.
No.
So the reference goes back to another film that Spielberg executive produced. Was the original ending for Back to the Future? Because before the DeLorean, it was supposed to be a fridge, and to get him back to the future, it was going to be a nuclear explosion in New Mexico. So they use that again. Yeah, so they've used that, and they've done the car thing at the start, which is a throwback to American Graffiti. I feel like
he's about to have a fucking stroke. You've got to let him talk.
Gus is about to puke. Hang on.
yeah.
Oh,
So
my
what you're
God.
telling me is
The pain.
everyone involved knew that was a bad idea, and don't put that in a movie in the 80s when they made Back to the Future. And then they got to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and were like, I don't know, I really just want to go to lunch. What do we got? And he's like, remember we could do that fridge thing? They're like, yeah, let's do the fridge thing and go to lunch. Like that, and that really to me feels like what so much of this is, where people were like, hey, is Harrison back? Like, yeah. It's like, is Steven back? Like, yeah. It's like, is Lucas back? It's like, yeah. It's like, well, then we're done. And that was it. That was the end of the really trying hard bit. Is once the Holy Trinity was on board, they were just like, okay, I guess we'll just like, people will love it because Harrison puts on the fedora. In fact, you know what would be really good? Let's, instead of having like an action sequence every 15 minutes, let's have him pick the hat up off the ground really slowly while the music swells and put the fedora on his head. And then let's do it again and do it again. But this time, instead of cool shit like him rolling under a closing temple door,
Kind of love it.
he'll get it punched off his head by someone who he easily should be taking down. Or even better, you know what? The wind. The wind will blow the fedora because that's the only thing that he can handle anymore is a strong breeze. Like six times his fedora's on the ground and he shuffles over and picks it up and slowly puts it on the head as you hear the theme tune start to go. And it's like, okay, the first time with the shadow is fun. And then they just keep doing it because they're like, what do we got? And they're like, oh, let's remind everyone he's Indiana Jones again. It's like, with a cool fight or a gunfight or a sword fight or a whip fight or him doing something cool. It's like, nah, just get him to bend over slowly and put the hat on. I'm like, all right.
Is it actually
That's
six
actually
times?
what my
Six
wife
times.
tells me to do. all the
Six
time.
times the hat is on the ground and he like bends over slowly and picks it up and slowly rises as he puts it on.
Which is
See, I
different
love it.
from...
I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
6 fucking times. By the time it happened at the end of the movie, I was like, Jesus Christ, did everyone have a half day? What are you doing? Right,
I think
a
you probably-
goddamn fight.
You're probably right in the sense of like, okay, we've got the Trinity back, and you know, let's just make it happen. But I think a lot of the, not blame, but I think a lot of the reason why this doesn't work is the script, and that's David Kett. Like, he's written some great pictures.
He's written some fucking crackers, man.
Yeah, oh man, absolutely. I don't disagree, but I feel like he was kind of at the height of his powers at this particular point, and he has a real contempt for the profession as well in a lot of ways. I remember hearing an interview that he did on another podcast called Script Apart during the writer's strike, and he was complaining about how much he hates being on set and doing location scouts and stuff. I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, that half the industry isn't working right now. Don't bitch about you're able to work, you baby billionaire. Like, it was just a bit, I don't know, wankish. But yeah, his movies do. Sometimes they bang it out to the cheap seats. Like you've got to say, especially stuff that he did post Jurassic Park.
But you know who has more power than David Koepp? Is George
Spielberg.
Lucas, who forced this story into existence despite everyone saying we don't think that's a good idea, including Steven Spielberg. Like nobody wanted Aliens for an Indiana Jones movie except George Lucas, and he wouldn't fucking let it go. And he wore, if you watch all the interviews,
well, before
Spielberg
that, it was a haunted mansion.
down.
A haunted house he wanted to have was the original.
That's a fucking great idea.
It's better. And this is the thing I was going to say before. The thing that really frustrates me about this movie is they tell us, previously, Indiana Jones, specialist on like ancient cultures and the occult. So what has he dealt with so far? Ancient cultures and the occult. What does he deal with in this movie? Fucking aliens. He's a spectator. He has no expertise in aliens.
And again, and I think they make the best of, if they have been forced into that position, they make the best of what the hand that they've been dealt. And I think and I was talking to a friend of mine about this, and I think the reason that it doesn't work is because when Indiana Jones comes up against science, it doesn't work because he is a man of science. The first three films is Indiana Jones coming up against faith and theology and whatnot, and it's having to sacrifice the science part of him to get to the faith, to adopt faith, to get in whatever form it might manifest. He's got to learn that part. In this one, if it is, shall we say, science-y, intergalactic, interstellar, interdimensional, whatever the fuck.
I believe it's the space between spaces. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
There's a couple of awkward lines in this movie.
Yeah,
that's one of them.
And I know what we're not talking about, but that's kind of my issue with Dial of Destiny as well. Is that it's not him coming up against a lack of faith or having to adopt faith over science. Is that tension in his character doesn't quite work. Aliens notwithstanding, it could have been fucking anybody. It could have been anything. But the fact that it's not faith-based, that's one of the weakest parts of it, I think.
Because you're right. He is the eternal skeptic. He's like Scully. Like she keeps seeing aliens every 7 days, and she's like, "Nah, what do you mean a werewolf? It might be just a dude in a costume." Like, bitch, you've been in this show for 7 seasons.
I love how
surely
Scully just turned into like a 50s diner fucking waitress. What do you mean? No, I've never. You want some more coffee?
Yeah, she did.
I don't know what you mean.
She was from Queens. She was originally from
Mulder,
Queens.
what are you talking about? Werewolf. This is ridiculous. Like, fucking fantastic.
Now she's
Imagine
Rosie
that.
Perez.
I know, yes, you beat me by 2 seconds.
Imagine
Billy.
Rosie Perez.
Oh my God, Foxy. While we're talking about aliens, I do have a quick question. This is a genuine question. Are the aliens just massive cunts?
You like that one?
Is that the whole thing of the aliens in this movie? They're just cunts? Because their whole thing is like they're mind controlling people to get the skull back because they're desperate to get the skull back for whatever reason we never find out. Like you have to bring the skull back to the circle. And so they do. And the actual person who gives the skull back is the Cate Blanchett character. She's the one who like returns it to the body.
I've heard different theories on this, and I've always taken that the ambiguity is because she wants the power for, I guess, negative or bad reasons. She doesn't want it for good reasons. So that was like, no, you we'll disintegrate you and overload your brain because no, you're not worthy of it, and you're not going to be using it for good reason.
Never discussed or explained in the movie.
No, it's never. And that's
here's the thing that you want desperately. I deliver it to you. They deliver it to. She delivers it to them, and they burn her eyes out and turn her to dust, whilst making a point of showing us like a really angry, mean face.
Yep.
Like when the 12 aliens turn into one for reasons that are also never explained. I guess there was one alien, not 12. Which
13, isn't it?
And also, so the aliens died, and then they all sat there dead as skeletons until one of their skulls got removed. But then when the skull gets put back, they come back to life again and turn into one being. Like, why didn't they just come back to life before the skull got stolen?
Okay, but do that except with the contents of the Ark.
Yeah, well, that's God. How are you going to fight that?
Oh, yeah.
They also do explain
Yeah,
that like
Jesus.
it's what it is that the Ark, it had the the Ten Commandments like tablets in it. So there is some precedent for it being supernatural.
Ark,
like a lot of that story.
no, I can
is
explain
that
it. The
stone?
Ark kicks off and kills everyone because they
Yeah,
open
why?
it. If you leave the
Yeah,
fucking Ark alone,
But the Ark is only a transport device for the stone tablets. So why is there ghosts in it?
because the guards and they opened it. But the point is, but think about this: like,
Because
if you
Jesus,
don't
all
open
right?
the Ark,
It's because Jesus.
like Jesus is like, don't open the Ark. If you don't open the Ark, then Jesus isn't going to send the ghost army after you because you're doing what you're told. The aliens are like, give us back our skull, and they give him back the skull, and like, haha, now we're going to burn your fucking eyes out because you did what we asked. Like, if you leave the Ark alone, no one has any problems. If you do exactly what the aliens want, very big problems.
Well, I mean, they sort of flood the kingdom, and my understanding of it is, this is what I intuited probably, is that in order to become sentient again, like they're in hibernation, they're not dead, they're like and in order to become sentient again, it's a hive mind, so they need everybody. So when they come back with Bob,
everyone's there
and
until one gets stolen.
Yeah.
And then it gets to turn and they come back. If they were all
but they're there
to
for a
begin with.
reason. Remember, he says they go in the place and there's stuff everywhere, and he's like, they were archaeologists. They were here for knowledge. That was what, the treasure, the word that translated was treasure, not gold. And the treasure was knowledge.
No. The exact line is, they said treasure. That treasure doesn't always mean gold. Knowledge was the treasure. Knowledge was their treasure. He repeats it for no reason and then just stares off into the distance. It's one of the most awkwardly written lines in the history of cinema. It's awful.
He was taking it in. He was taking it all in.
Which I kind of hate sometimes when they do that. It's like, hang on, when you're actually deciphering an ancient language at the time, actually tell us earlier in the film, it could mean gold or it could mean treasure. We don't know.
But then you don't get that cool line at the end that Gus loves so much. It's his favourite line in the movie.
I hear what you're saying, Angus. I do have issues with the whole alien thing because I think they didn't put
interdimensional space beings, for fuck's sake. They're not aliens.
No.
Spielberg's going to come to your house and slap you in the dick.
No, but this is the thing. It was originally aliens, and Spielberg kept saying no. And then it's like when Independence Day came out, like, we can't do aliens. And then George's like, well, why don't we do interdimensional beings? Let's face it, they just changed it up to be different. The reality is, it was supposed to be aliens.
And they literally have the aliens from Roswell.
And the connotation is obviously Roswell and all that sort of stuff. I think that's one of the reasons people don't like it, because they think it's so different from the first three. But then I can see why they went there, because that was big at the time. Atomic and nuclear power, or the atom bomb. That time was all this, talk about, aliens, or the movies back then.
The red bear coming into your back garden to steal your kids.
Yeah, so it was. I kind of get why. I understand the timeline of Indian and why. I think the original title, or something that George was pushing, was Indiana Jones and the Saucer Man from Mars, or some shit like that.
Well, that's
because he really wanted to
line
sound
in
like
the film
the
where he says how
50s
stupid that
movies.
is.
Yeah, so I think I get it, but I still, I think people are like, what? Interdimensional beings? And even then, when you think about it, that makes zero sense in a lot of ways. Like, even back then, people were still probably getting their head around the idea of aliens anyway. Like how even Oxy, when he says, "Oh no, he was an interdimensional being," how do they even have a concept of an interdimensional being in the 50s? Like, it just seems a little bit too crackpot. Like, it just felt like it did feel like a really last minute change. Like they really were going to maybe still do the aliens and go, we'll just change a couple of words and a bit more exposition here, and we'll explain it away. Like, it just, and it had so much promise.
Script.
Was that?
Control F on the script, find every reference to alien and change it to interdimensional skull creature.
And having said, well, what did you guys think? Because I think I'm the only part archaeologist in this room.
Hang on a minute.
Hang on, sorry. What? Which part?
No, because I did 2 years of archaeology at uni.
Just
Did you
fucking
really?
drop that in the conversation. Where was that?
Yeah.
10 months ago. When we did the other one.
Only appropriate now. And I just thought it'd be a funny line.
Also, as you've leaned back, this is the first time any of us can see in this shot that you're also wearing an Indiana Jones t-shirt. Like, you're really bearing the lead on a lot of stuff here, man. Jesus Christ.
Respect.
No, why are we all fucking... No, wait a minute. Why are we all fucking, like, just moving past this? Are you...
I'm not. I don't. I never want to move past this.
Did you seriously do archaeology at uni for 2 years?
Was it because of
100%.
Indiana Jones?
How long was
that? Was one of them.
How
Was
long
that?
was the degree?
It depended how far you want to go. It was 3 years. It's just Bachelor of Arts. But I moved into cinema. Yeah.
What? Why did you?
I love that you're studying archaeology. You're like, I love Indiana Jones. I love it for 2 years. I love it. Fuck! I love Indiana Jones so much. I should just move into cinema.
Yeah.
Actually, this is stupid.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm here.
I didn't know I had the option.
And this comb.
Oh yeah. Archaeology.
And all this digging in the dirt sucks. You know what's fun? Sitting in a movie theater.
Yeah.
Oh no! But
no one said
there's-
anything about my whip. No compliments.
Anyway,
whatsoever.
What I was gonna say, I like that the films normally deal with some sort of relic that has. They obviously fictionalize it for the movie. They maybe add a little bit, put a bit of mayonnaise onto the story, but generally, especially when you look at the Holy Grail and the Ark of the Covenant, like that's based in some sort of Sean said before, some sort of truth or theology or the Bible. But there's still a belief that those items still exist somewhere on Earth. So there's this. That's why I think it's compelling that Indiana Jones works, because it's finding those items and having this journey. The Crystal Skull is a funny one too, because for a long time they did exist and it is mentioned in the film. But sadly, I think I'm not expecting everyone to know this either, but I think what may have hurt the film a little bit with the idea of the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is for a long time people believed in the Crystal Skulls, but one of the famous ones, which is mentioned in the movie, was for about the year before the movie, or maybe when they were in production of the movie, got found out to actually be a hoax. So for a long time, it was supposed to have been found in 1923 or something like that in the jungles of Peru or the Mayan, somewhere along in that area in the Amazon. And for years, the daughter led the lie and the story. And people believed it for a long time, and then scientists and all these other things that I think Hewlett-Packard did tests on it, and they found out, no, it was a complete false. It was a complete hoax. They were just, they weren't Mesoamerican crystal skulls. They were made in Germany, and that this guy had actually bought one at a Christie's auction in 1940 or something like that.
What were they supposed to be, though? Because they weren't supposed to be interdimensional aliens. They were supposed to be crystal skulls with the big, long head, and they were like these and other beings. I don't get it.
Well, no, but there was still a story. I think that where the movies got the idea from. Again, one of the guys that was part of the hoax and sort of came up, I guess, with the urban legend of it, was that they were doing tests on the skull, and information was coming from the skull. Or at night, they would hear the skull talk or some sort of music or some sort of sounds coming from
I understand that part. My question is, what the fuck was it? Like, was it a skull made out of crystal like an artifact, or was it supposed to be someone's actual cranium that like it is in the movie?
No. They were. It wasn't as the skulls that I know of. It's not as big and realistic as the one we see in the movie. They were,
Hang on a second.
Well,
the question I'm asking is, was it an organic thing, like that was the head of something that was living, or was it a crystal,
gold, or was it made of crystal?
Was it
of quartz. So the movie gets some of it right. It talks about they were made of. These crystal skulls were made of quartz, yes. Is this what we're getting at? Yes?
Yeah. The question I'm asking is...
In real life, were they meant to be from a living thing that died and had a crystal skull?
No, they don't.
They
only speculate. There's never, I don't think, ever been a hard and fast reasoning. The urban legend that was created...
So it was like a Fabergé egg. It wasn't a real egg. It was an ornamental thing only.
I don't know.
Okay.
This
What
is
a
why you
journey!
should have the extra
What a
year of
fucking
archaeology.
journey
You would have
that
found
was.
out. This is why you don't do 2 years and quit.
I'm going.
That was perfect. Oh, that was excellent. Give it up for the archaeologist. That was fucking fantastic.
Indiana
Oh,
Sage.
that's made my fucking week.
This is incredible. I can't
That was
believe that it's
fucking-
taken this long for me to find out that you studied archaeology. This is insane. We have been doing this show for a while, and we have talked about other Indiana Jones movies.
Yes.
And talked about Indiana Jones just in chats, and still. Holy.
That was the best. Oh, I'm not laughing at you, Cape. I'm laughing with you.
I feel like you are.
Laughing with
No,
you.
absolutely not. Absolutely
When we
not.
do
That was
Exorcist 3,
great.
it's really going to blow your mind when you found out that I studied for the priesthood, but we'll save it for that episode.
Did you actually?
No, it didn't actually.
Oh, I was so mental it could be true.
What movie would you have to do? The Exorcist 3.
Exorcist 3.
Yeah, that's actually a good movie.
It's a great film.
I actually quite like The Exorcist 3.
Exorcist 3 is amazing. Exorcist 2 is dog shit, but Exorcist 3 is fucking fantastic. And you can watch it and forget Exorcist 2 existed. What do we
So are we all
Crystal Skull.
are we all good now?
Yeah, sorry. I mean, I was asking the question wrong. Like, to be fair, I once I got to the Fabergé egg thing, I'm like, I understand now what I'm trying to ask. So that was totally on me too.
Okay. Do you want me to maybe for our audience to understand the idea? So there were several crystal skulls that some guy made in somewhere in Germany. They were fabricated and made out of quartz. But for a long time, this person that gets mentioned in the movie, why have I mentioned Hedges?
The Conquistador? Are you talking about that?
No, not the. Why have I got a mental blank on his name? Someone Hedges. Anyway, he supposedly in 1923 found one of these, and there was always a theory. But again, it's thought that they've now created the hoax. They created the urban legend that the Aztecs, the Mayans, whatever, all had these skulls and they needed to bring them together, and that they had this power, and clearly they couldn't be man-made. They had to have come from somewhere, from the gods, blah, blah, or interdimensional beings, which is obviously what Spielberg and Lucas has come up with. But obviously, just before this movie came out, it came out that this was completely a bullshit hoax. It was never a real story that people had believed almost for 80 something years. So
I bet the whole crew were like, "Fuck!" Like we're just we're on the wrong train.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty much there's quite a few crystal skulls, and I think honestly, I'm pretty sure, at least script wise, when Indiana Jones mentions them, it's accurate at the time. Like he says he saw one in the British Museum. They actually did have one at the time. There was one in America and whatever. So the story was they all got split up, and it was about trying to bring them back together. But anyway,
already, like your retelling of the real story, already better and more interesting than the stories that they went with in the film. Honestly, like if that had have been the plot about trying to figure out, like, was this fabricated in Germany in the 20s, and where did it come from, and who was this guy, and tracking it down, and like going around trying to track down the locations of are they real or not, as opposed to what they landed on, I would have been so much more invested in this.
Well, it could have been anything as well. It didn't have to be crystal skulls. I mean, the story still works. You just remove that element. It could have been a fucking. I always wanted to write a story or have a story about Indiana Jones come out, and it was a samurai sword that like had the ghost of a samurai warrior in it, because I thought that was a cool idea. You could do that at this. You just set it in Japan instead of Maya, and away you go. Instead of Peru, and away you go. Like it didn't have to be that thing. Absolutely.
I did think they, again, from my point of view, and you look at a lot of books I've read through, whether it's archaeology or just Eric von Däniken and the Chariots of the Gods and all that sort of stuff. I think this one, maybe why I'm not as hard on this film overall, and have sort of always sort of secretly enjoyed it, is because they do play into this whole idea of these ancient civilizations being helped along by, whether it's interdimensional beings or ancient aliens, whatever you want to call it, because they go to the Nazca Lines. Again, that's a real place. That's not a made-up place. And they can't explain the Nazca Lines and why they're there. And then they go there and they obviously find the skull and the conquistadors and all that sort of stuff. And then obviously they go to the temples and stuff like that. So they really lean into that lore that sort of exists. But Anyway,
I love it where Ray
That's-
Winston says conquistador. I'm like, maybe take two on that, Ray. I don't think that's the word, mate.
I picked that up as well, and I thought that was just because he that was probably like a little bit of spice on it from Ray, just to make him not sound as intelligent as perhaps.
Oh yeah, that's a
Indiana
choice.
Jones.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's not a mistake. Yeah. He's
Loved it.
He's a good actor.
Conquistador.
Conquistadors, indeed.
I
I'm a
did have a thought
double.
when I was watching the movie this time about like what could be done to like what could have and should have been done to make this film like really elevated. And I came on this time. This movie feels the whole way through like it wants to, and also I think should have been a really like high quality animated feature. If you make this movie an animated feature, you immediately remove the problem of like Harrison's a bit older now and Indy can still fuck shit up. But also, all of the outlandish stuff suddenly becomes less outlandish and forgivable because you're already watching a cartoon. So your brain is like, yeah, shoot him through the sky in a fridge. Like, whatever. It's a cartoon. Or, like, yeah, go down the waterfall or swing through the monkey jungle. Like, all of it is immediately forgiven. But you get the added benefit of Indiana Jones can do anything. So you have the freedom and definitely the incentive to have him do more stuff. If this movie was a really high quality animated feature, it would be one of the best Indiana Jones movies because you could just be like, let's friggin' go. Let's have some fun with Indy. And I
One of the
think
best
that if
animated indie movies of all time, Atlantis: The Lost Empire.
there you
It's
go.
just not
See,
in
something
it.
like that. Like,
Yeah.
let's get into some crazy stuff. Get some really great animators, get a big studio budget. And I think they should. I think for the future of Indiana Jones, like, you should make really awesome, like, get the guys who did the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Like, let them at it and be like, let's make a serious, awesome, interesting movie. And also the thing I think that could happen with that didn't happen with this, I find this movie to be really humorless and heartless. Like, it's not funny. Nothing fun happens. Nothing funny happens. There's no, like, really heartfelt, like, the chemistry between Harrison and Shire is non-existent. Like, it's really nice seeing Harrison and Marion back together. But even then, they get so little to do that it really kind of doesn't. Even in the wedding scene, like, it's over. You never get to see them have anything. Like, we really lost out on a lot of opportunities. I think make animated features and bring all the actors back to voice the characters. Harrison will do it. If you give him money, he'll do anything. If you like, come and
And
do
even
an
if he
animated
doesn't, the
indie
dude who
movie,
does the voices in the video games is
he's
right on
amazing.
the money.
He's
Yeah.
amazing. But like, I think there's a huge opportunity there. Do you guys find this movie fun or funny at all?
Yeah, I have a good time with it when I watch it. Yeah,
I have a lot of fun, and I do giggle. There's more than a handful of times where I giggle at the lines or giggle at the direction. Like, yeah, no, I think there's a lot of fun. In
it's
fact,
the leaning in after he exits the library on the motorbike and he says, "If you want to be a good archaeologist, you got to get out of the library." And then everybody in the place sort of leads and watches him go. Like, that's textbook Spielberg, but it works.
yeah, no, I have a lot of fun with it.
there's still some good bits, but I kind of probably agree with Angus. If you compare it to the other three films,
Especially
It probably
Crusade, because
lacks,
Crusade is an absolute charm magnet. Like,
Yes,
that film is so hysterical in places. It's so heartfelt.
Crusade's the best of the fucking lot.
Yeah, I want to ask that at the end, like what everyone's order is, because Gus, you sent it in the chat today, and I was like, it really surprised me, and I want to come back to it. So
We'll save it for there because we'll probably just lead to a screen match and we'll all just like rage quit the Zoom station.
I don't have that kind of hate in me.
I mean, the reality is we've still got to talk about two other indie films as well. So,
But I do think that, like, I trying to figure out what my core sort of dislike or discomfort with this movie is, because like I said, I don't hate it, and I don't want to like come to it with an idea of, well, fuck this movie.
Could
'cause
have fooled me.
I don't hate this movie at all. I am incredibly frustrated by a lot of it, but I think I can forgive just about anything in particular an Indiana Jones movie, like the absurd like gaps in the story that just don't make sense, or the fact that Indiana Jones is sidelined. What I can't forgive in this movie is I find this film to be incredibly boring. It is such a boring movie, and when you have Indiana Jones going on an adventure, I don't see any adventure in this movie. I don't feel like there's any momentum. It feels like awkward scene after awkward scene pasted together. We spend so long just in the city doing stuff that makes no sense. Like the KGB come after them in a malt shop and they get away. And then the first thing they do is go back to Indy's house and hang out. Like the KGB wouldn't be there scoping that place out as well. The little things like that. I'm like, what the, like, you should be on the run immediately. Let's go. Don't go back to your house and pack. You should be running for a train, getting on a train as they chase you and escaping, or jumping on a plane and flying off as they shoot machine guns at you. Like, something should be happening to propel this story, and it doesn't.
It's funny you say that, because they try and make the joke about, oh yeah, you brought a knife to a gunfight, and then again the whole thing of the greasers versus the jocks, fight. Yeah. Again, to show us what era we're in, and this is.
He literally says, "Joe College, punch him in the face."
Yeah,
like just in case we forgot for a second, it was the 50s.
He doesn't punch him in the face either. Shia takes a glass of root beer and smashes the guy over the head with it. I'm like, fuck me. This is only PG. That's intense.
Pretty intense. But yeah, I find there's no energy to this movie that really moves it along, and that is the thing that that upsets me and disappoints me.
Do you think the other thing I feel like it lacks, and maybe this is a product of its time and trying to be accessible to everybody, but there's no horror in this film either.
No,
like all the other films have a bit of horror, a bit of like, oh, there's a bit of blood and guts, and this is not just a walk in the park kind of adventure. And then obviously seeing the melting faces at the end of Raiders, and then obviously the Donovan, getting old and becoming a skeleton at the end of Crusade, and obviously everything in Doom, everything in Doom, and then you get to this one, it's a bit. I mean, there's no.
It's only the ants, really. That's about it.
Like, I think the guys bursting out of the walls in the temple, like they're hiding and bursting out, that's a really cool idea. Then they don't really do anything in it. No, and then because they don't do anything in it, my mind starts to wander, and I go, how long were they hanging out in those little holes in the wall? Are they just hanging out there all the time waiting for someone to show up?
Yeah,
it seems like they just live in those little holes.
Yeah, I was taking that as like they're supernatural or something like that. I don't know.
Reanimate when.
But you're absolutely right. In the other movies where they would have gone that extra step and shown us like this is crazy sort of freaky stuff, they don't. They cut away and move on in this one.
Or you're just sitting there going, "Is that the motherfucker who was the pizza boy in the fucking Secret of the Ooze?" I think it is.
Is that the fucking guy from Surf Ninjas?
Surf Ninjas. That was the other one that I couldn't think of. Thank you. Fuck. I knew you were going to be on this show for a reason. Shit. Surf Ninjas.
My work here is done.
I didn't change. No, Surf Ninjas didn't change. I did. I haven't come back to Surf Ninjas in a long time. Maybe it holds up. I don't know.
How many Surf Ninjas are there?
I know. I was going to say, is there a sequel to it? Fuck.
Yeah, I think there's actually 3. I think there's 3.
I think I'm getting it confused with 3 ninjas.
Is Hulk Hogan in all of them?
Yeah, I'm getting them confused with 3 ninjas because it's 3 ninjas. 3 ninjas kick back.
Yep.
3 ninjas. Some surf ninjas.
For
fairly certain there was a Surf Ninjas and a Surf Ninjas 2.
3 ninjas knuckle up.
Knuckle up.
Third one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they changed cast every time, and it used to confuse me as a kid. I'm like, are these the same fucking kids?
Yeah, it's the same. I was like, wasn't that guy taller in the last movie? But he's older. He should be taller again.
That guy was black in the second one. What the hell's... Makes no sense.
Victor Wong's in all 3, so at least there's some consistency.
At least we only derailed with another movie once, Cable.
And like towards the end, we managed to get through
let me be the judge of that when I go back, because I'm sure there's 1 or 2 other movies got mentioned. But anyway, that's
the whole fucking record. I've been like this.
It's holding them all back.
You can mention other movies as long as it's relative. We can't just keep going down rabbit holes.
Because Surf Ninjas and Indiana Jones 4 have so much in common.
Yeah,
like they do have that kid in it. So yeah, you're right.
Absolutely,
it's like your best, but
both
I'm
of
glad
them
we went down it.
feature absurd stuff happening in the water.
It's what?
I said they both feature absurd stuff happening in the water.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Cable?
Well, did we think there would have been... I mean, Angus has got issues with this film. I think Regan mentioned how it was quickly kind of pushed into production. Spielberg had that window of time. Would it have been better, like, having someone else apart from Spielberg directing, or...
No, I think it would have been worse.
Do we think... Well,
because they tried that and it
what do you think?
sucked.
Well, do you just think it just needed another little bit of a polish on the rewrite and maybe really work out this guy? Because I think there is one too many characters. What was that?
It needed at least a second draft.
Yeah.
And it also needed to come out in 1995.
Yeah.
And then we would have been in good shape, you know?
It needs to not try so hard to force Indy into another era where he was by default just a spectator, uncomfortable, out of his element, have no like idea what's really happening. Like they really, I don't think they thought through in the race. Like, if we set it in the 50s, that's like how old he would be based on like how old, forgetting like it's a movie. You don't have to do that.
Talking about Dial of Destiny, if that's your issue with this one.
But the point of Dial of Destiny is like he's at the end. He's older and he's like at the end. This one, they kind of like touch on it a little bit at the start where he's like, oh, this is going to be tough. He's like, oh, it's been tougher. He's like, yeah, but it's harder now. And Kim and Ray Winstone talking about like, oh, we're the old guys now. And you've got Shia LaBeouf calling him an old man. Like, what are you, 80 and things? Like they reference it, but they don't lean in. Like there's no point where Indiana Jones has to face the fact that he is older now. And then they put it in the movie as like something that's going to happen. It doesn't. He never has to come up against his own mortality. He kind of did that in Last Crusade when he was.
Well, he did. That's why he's supposedly still pretty good at his age, is because he drank from the cup of Christ.
So throw that in, maybe. I don't know. Maybe chuck that in. Give us one scene where like Marion's like, "Geez, you look good." And he's like, "You try drinking from the cup of Christ and see how you look." And he's like, "Oh yeah, he did do that. Like something."
Yeah. Or maybe you just go with what the Harrison thing is that he fucking smokes weed every day and he's so relaxed, his body's just in permanent stasis. Like he's just so chill. I think that the argument about the timing, Gus, is right on the money. It doesn't need to be set then because that's his age. Like he could be playing late 40s. And if you do that, then you get to tell all the stories you fucking hear about in this movie. Like when he was a spy and shit.
Yeah. That's what I want to ask. Have we ever heard that before and I just missed it?
No, it's just in that movie.
You cannot introduce in the fourth movie that this guy used to be a spy.
What, sorry?
You can't introduce in the fourth movie in this series that the hero used to be a spy.
Yeah. What
like
were
it completely
we
changes everything about him.
Have you guys all
Switzerland or whatever? We're double agents, like
have
that
you
kind of thing.
watched Young Indiana Jones?
Not since it came out. Like I did, but
so we know. Yeah. Obviously, when he was a lot younger, he became a soldier in the army.
Yeah, but he says like he was in the OSS, like he was specifically a spy.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like when he's getting interrogated by the FBI, he reels off all this stuff, and then when he says to Mac later on, and then Mac's like, "Remember in Berlin?"
Berlin, yeah.
It's like, so there's stuff happening.
But and it's also between the period like where the end of Crusade, because it's the only one that's like canonically out of line with everything is Doom. Like that's technically the first one. So between Crusade and this, all of this shit happened during the Cold War and when he was a spy and all this kind of stuff that you only hear about. Like they're better stories in there, absolutely.
And it seems so bizarre to like get 4 movies in, reference all this stuff that we never get to see in audience, not reference anything that actually happened in the movies we have seen, but then introduce a whole slew of new characters and expect us to treat them like old friends because we're like, oh yeah, these guys have been around all along. Ox and Mac, they've been around here forever. Don't you remember those guys and the dean of the school? We've all known each other for all this time. Remember, guys? It's like you told us that like 2 of the main characters in this series are dead. So don't try and replace them. Like John Hurt is a phenomenal actor. He's a poor replacement for Henry Jones Sr. in this film, and that's what they're trying to do. Have the older guy who has all the answers. They just do a different version, and having like Mac as like the sidekick who's kind of bumbling, but this time he's a bad guy, and then he's a good. That whole storyline, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say when he says
he's an agent, he's a double agent, he's a triple agent. Yeah, no, I wasn't.
And then he behaves like a Boo the monkey.
And then at the end, like, Indy's still trying to save him like he's his best mate, despite the fact he's tried to kill him the entire film.
But also, he doesn't even get up. He just lies on the ground. I'm like, use your legs, you dickhead. Get up.
He winks, and he goes...
And he says, you're going to help me. Use your legs.
I've had so much sausage. I'm riddled with cancer anyway. Don't worry, mate. Just let me go.
Like, it's flabbergasted. But yeah, I think, like, as an audience being asked to love these characters the way that Indy clearly does, but we're not being given any of the characters that we as an audience have grown to love. Like, for the love of God, why isn't Short Round in this fucking movie?
Yes,
right.
You racist
Damn
sons of
crime.
bitches.
I know. He's too busy.
Apparently, the original
choreographing
idea
stuff.
was as they walk out of the church and get into the car is driven by Short Round. He's like, "Let's go, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, or
Time
Doctor
for
and Mrs.
love.
Jones."
Because there's
Yeah,
time for
that was
love now because they've just got married. I think it'd be fun. You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's what they were going to give Ki Hu Kwan. He's like, "Oh yeah, you've had no career for 30 years because
40
Steven
fucking
Spielberg,
years, yeah.
the most powerful man in Hollywood, chose not to help you out when you were just fucking nothing and nowhere." Bull, but Steven Spielberg loves him now, by the way.
Oh yeah, don't
best
worry about it
friends.
though, because in about 15 years time or about 12 years time, you're going to win a fucking Academy Award for your first race back. You know, outrageous.
Yeah, crazy. But yeah, so things like that, like, or bring multiple characters back. If you're gonna bring Marion back, like, bring Willie back as well. Why not?
Well, they said that they asked Jean Rhys Davies to come back as Sala, but as a cameo in the wedding scene.
wedding,
I'm like, give him a fucking go.
Him in.
You know.
Yeah, I think that was another thing that always kind of felt off to me, is like, I know that there are great characters and actors who play these characters who are alive who could have done this, and you spend more time on Mac than you do on Marion. Like,
What do we think about Kate Blanchett? Like, I feel like she's always got a bit of heat on her performance, whether she hams it up or not. I actually like her as Irina Spelko. Like, I like the character. I think you need a big bad. It was good to have a female bad guy, I guess, and I
don't
think
know,
she's
the chick,
great in
the
this.
chick that he and his dad were tunnel brothers with in the in the third one is pretty great.
Yeah, well, she's a former Bond girl too. She came from.
Was she?
Yeah, she was from.
Ilsa.
He was.
Oh, geez, why have I got a mental blank on what movie? She was in the one with Christopher Walken.
License to
View to a
no.
Kill.
View to a Kill.
View to a
View to
Kill.
a Kill,
View
that's
to a
right,
Kill.
yeah.
That's where
That's
she's
one of the
from.
Dalton ones, isn't it?
it is
No.
No.
A View to
No,
a Kill.
that's the last
Roger Moore.
For the last Roger Moore one, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of License to Kill.
I had such a crush on her when I was a kid. I cannot even begin to
Yeah.
tell you.
She makes you giddy like a schoolboy.
You be like a schoolboy.
To answer your Kate Blanchett question, I love Kate Blanchett. I think she's phenomenal, and I think she's given everything she's got, and also doing everything she's been asked to do in this role. I think that, like, the role just isn't there.
Yeah,
Like,
agreed.
We kind of
She's
get given
making
this
something out of
backstory
nothing.
about her being a badass, and then she's given absolutely nothing to do with that, and never gets to present being a badass. She's kind of almost a bumbling fool.
I think she was at home making Vegemite on toast and some eucalyptus tea, and someone called her and said, "Hey, Steven Spielberg's on the phone. He wants it." And she just said, "Whatever it is, yes." The answer is yes.
Of course.
And I'm do it. And this
There is a
what it
great
happened
thing
to
in
be.
the special features that I watched last night, like the making of Crystal Skull, which if you like Indiana Jones movies and you want to just
Yeah, they-
bask in,
Fucking
like
masochist.
They
dude.
put in that.
like the making of King Crystal Skull feature on the bonus disc. It's quite lovely because it's everyone just like talking about like how freaking much they love this character and how excited they are to do this character. And it's you kind of like watch it. You're like, I'd rather watch this than the movie just to see your joy like bouncing off the screen. And one of the things Kate Blanchett says in that is that she never got an opportunity to meet Harrison Ford before they were on set for that first scene that they shot.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And the first time that like she showed, like he was doing his thing. He's on Harrison time. He's in the trailer and she's like blocking out the stuff, and his double is like blocking out the scene with her, and then she kind of goes away and kind of gets ready, and he comes on, and the scene is like he has his back to her and then turns around. So the first time she ever met Harrison Ford in real life was when she was on camera and he turns around in full Indiana Jones gear. And she like kind of takes it in. And the way she talks about it is like she had a religious experience. And I was like, man, yeah, cool. Like this is what I want from this movie is people just basking in the reverence of this character and being overwhelmed by how fucking cool he is.
Yeah.
And it sounds like everyone in set like got how cool he is. And somehow it doesn't quite come through in the final picture. He's not as cool in this movie. He's still cool. There is a base level to how cool Harrison Ford can be as a human being, and there is a base level to how cool
Yeah.
The point of which is what I'm trying to say is that it's beautiful to hear everyone talk about how cool Harrison Ford is as Indiana Jones in this movie, and I just wish we, the audience, got to see more of that in the final.
So how did you watch that?
The special features.
Yeah.
I've got the Blu-ray version of the box set. I don't have the 4K, but I've got the 4-movie box set they brought out with the bonus features disc.
Right.
That's a separate thing.
Yeah, I've got that as well. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, trivia fact for physical media people: Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was actually the first Indiana Jones movie that came out on Blu-ray.
How about them apples?
Oh.
It had the original trilogy hadn't.
You're still there, mate.
You're still there. You just blocked out for a bit. The original trilogy hadn't come out on Blu-ray yet, but because Kingdom of the Crystal Skull had just obviously come out, cinema had a decent run. I think what they spent 185 million on it, made almost 800 million. I don't know if that's just US or worldwide, but made plenty of bank. They brought out that 2-disc Blu-ray set, or maybe even 3 discs. I can't remember, but I remember buying it. And it's definitely, they punched up the features. Absolutely, they made it worth grabbing.
It made nearly $1 billion, and it took them another fucking, what was it, 17 years or 16 years to make the next one. That's fucking bizarre.
Yeah.
800, Bank was just shy of 800 million.
Yeah.
Gargantuan, huge.
Especially then, like we had.
Yeah.
I mean, Iron Man. I froze for a sec. What did you last hear?
No, you just went to say Iron Man and then you blanked.
I was just saying that came out the year before. We weren't in every one of these movies makes $1 billion territory yet, you know?
Yeah.
Well, and
even the budget.
Yeah, go, Sean.
I was going to say, even the budget for 2008, budget of 185 million is I mean, that is
huge. Really,
that's something. Like, even by today's standards, 185 million is fairly staggering. So, 15, 16 years ago when it came out, when it was in development. So, and I assume it would have been a big gamble as well. Is anybody going to dial in, no pun intended, for another Indiana Jones? Is Harrison Ford going to be too old, blah, 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 and then to go and spend nearly 200 million on it in 2008? Like that.
What did you say? Sorry to talk over you. What did you say the budget was for Crystal Skull?
185.
It was like 185 million.
Because I just looked it up, and the alleged fee that Harrison Ford got for Crystal Skull is $65 million. So $65 million of that budget is just his wage.
Back end as well.
I would wager that'd be a back end deal.
Yeah,
I'm trying to find more information as we talk, but that is just
that's quite staggering, really. I mean, I know he's the character and he's very important, but 65.
I've got another report that suggests that he was upfront 25.
Yeah,
which makes more sense, but still, that's
100%.
That's a lot.
But he made 80 in total off back end deals.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
He made, for comparison, total for the entire rounded up money he's ever made from Raiders of the Lost Ark is 5.9, and that's from beginning of time until now. He made 5.9 million, and he made 80 million off the fourth one.
Sometimes when you hear that, I heard somebody. I watched a little documentary to digress on iRobot the other day, and based on the back of iRobot's success, Will Smith got something like 20 million up front and then got cut in on the back end. And his bank for that was 140 million or something on the back of iRobot.
Alex Proyas got sent to director jail.
I know. Wild. Sometimes the bank these guys get are just absolutely wild.
That's how they can afford to make Mission Impossible movies with Tom Cruise in them, because he's like, don't pay me up front, I'll just take money out of the back. And the last one he made $250 million.
But he's also a producer on it as well.
That's true, but it's contingent on the film being successful, that happening,
100%.
Yeah, and this film actually made the second most money for that year. So the first one was the Batman, the Dark Knight. The Dark Knight or the Dark Knight Rises?
It'd be Rises.
I thought it would be Avatar.
Oh, no, you're right. Yeah, it'd be Dark Knight.
I think it's Night. Yeah.
Yeah, so for this, what was that?
Was Avatar the year after?
It has to be, because,
Avatar was 2010?
2009? 2009? Something like that. Anyway.
But you do wonder, when you hear the story that originally back in the day, Paramount wanted 5 indie movies, and then they finish Crusade, and you think, well, they're riding off into the sunset. Maybe that's a perfect finish. And they come back for this, and like you said, you make valid points. They've made a lot of money. Like, why wouldn't they come back in a year or two and do a sequel? And you could maybe just focus it in. Maybe it could be father and son on another adventure or something like that. But
it would have been
it's
great.
Interesting that they didn't go back to it. But
it's I think a lot of it's probably to do with Harrison and Spielberg as well. And I don't think anybody was committed to making one of these pictures without those guys until more recently, when it was money. And Mangold makes Logan, and then probably one of the best racing movies of all time, Ford versus Ferrari, and he's feeling his dick, man. He's just like, yep, I have got the Hollywood balls, and I'm gonna make this indie film, and it's competently made at least. So yeah, I think that's probably why it took so long. But it is a shame. But I think Gus is right. I mean, make these animated. Fucking, I would watch one every year.
Especially like now that we know that you can release, if it's really good. You release something like Spider-Man, like you have a hot property and you have a great animation shooting, you do something interesting. Like as fans, we all want more Indiana Jones and we want to see him get into more crazy adventures. And in a cartoon, like he can do anything.
Oh, Sean's passing. Oh,
here he is.
He's out.
No,
I will say, like after this conversation,
you want to go watch
when I finished watching
the Crystal Skull.
Well, when I finished watching Crystal Skull, I was like, that's the 3rd time I've watched it. It goes to 2 hours. That's 6 hours of my life I've given to this movie. Plus, I know I'm going to talk about it for at least 2 hours. That's 8 hours of my life I've dedicated to this movie now.
So you've only seen it 3 times. Is that what? Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I was like, my relationship can end with this movie. But after talking to guys, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I need to come at it again. I think what I'm going to do, not right away, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and watch like Raiders, Doom, Crusade, straight into like Crystal Skull and Dial of Destiny, and watch them like as a whole shebang, and just let like the Indiana Jonesness of it wash over me, and the Spielbergness of it wash over me.
It's a great marathon to do.
I want to open my heart to joy. Maybe there is more.
I think it's worth doing.
I approach this from a different angle. Because I love the freaking character so much, and I love the director so much, and I love the actor so much.
I had a theory that Sean was going to come in and rip on some of the other films, and if we said something was ridiculous in this film, that he'd give us a counterpoint in another film. So I thought, well, I got to go watch these other films too. And I get it's Indiana Jones, like you can't not. So yeah, I've been, like I said, I think I watched Crystal Skull twice. Then I went back and watched the other 3, and then went back to Crystal Skull. So now I've got to watch Dial of Destiny, because I think we're going to talk about that, because I've got a lot of issues with that film.
And I have barely any. So I
think,
and that's what I really want to discuss. I really want to discuss that.
But Indiana Jones is the perfect cinematic hero. Like he has everything you need him to have in order to like him. And it's Harrison Ford is just the most charismatic actor. It couldn't have been anyone else. In every alternate universe, in every
Tom Selleck
multiverse. Yes. No, there is no other universe where it's anybody else. Every single multiverse is him. Even in the world where it's just fish, Harrison Ford is still Indiana Jones. You know what I mean?
See, the way that Gus feels about Crystal Skull is how I feel about Dial of Destiny.
Yeah,
like
I can't wait to talk about the film.
I fucking hate that film. So much.
I've got some bombs to drop on that film too.
I'm opening my heart to Crystal Skull. When we do the Dial of Destiny episode, let's see if we can get you. Let's see if we can do a 1-for-1, and we'll get you on board.
Even the thought of having to sit down for another 2.5 hours and watch that fucking
2.5 hours. 2.5.
You're like one, Mr. Grinch.
It's so fucking bad. It's so bad.
I like it a lot.
I have only seen it once, but I did enjoy it when I watched it.
Can we get on the record? You've actually seen this 6 times, Regan. Is that correct?
I saw it 4 times at the cinema, and I've watched it twice at home.
Fuck.
That's commitment.
You just punched the.
I love the idea as well of the like You're absolutely right, Sean. Everything that you're going to say, and Gus, you're right too. You are absolutely right.
100%,
You are totally
100%.
correct in the way that you feel,
100%.
and it's beautiful. I just happen to feel differently. And the thing it is, Gus, as well. You said, you want to open your heart to love. That's what this is about. You got to remove your want and just let it be what it is. Surrender, idiot, and just like accept what you have in front of you. And I find that I do that a lot more than most cinema critics,
No, I'm like I've said it since day dot. I know how hard it is, we all know how hard it is just to make a film make sense, just to have it logically go from A to B to C, and have your audience at the end of it say, "Oh, and this happened, and then that happened, and then this happened because of this," and then the credits rolled. But to make a movie that is as complex as something like The Crystal Skull, or like Dial of Destiny, or even something like one of those 90s straight-to-video action bangers that you watched when you were a kid that you adored, the stamina and the dedication that it takes, even just to get a shit film off the ground that still makes sense, to go from that doesn't move you, right? That has maybe a little bit of amusement or something like that. That's something. But to make something that actually moves you, like Apocalypse Now or The Godfather or The Maltese Falcon, that is fucking genius, man. And if you can make it make sense or make it move me, I'm sold. Like, you've got me. Like, I know how hard it is. I tip my hat to you, sir. Well done.
But you're saying Dial of Destiny does not do that.
But Dial of Destiny is absolutely fucking diabolical.
Okay, that's where we'll come back full circle.
No. Like it's. But my point stands even for Dial of Destiny is that it's. People were like, "Oh, Michael Bay fucking movie." It's just like, mate, have you got any idea what it takes to make a film like a Michael Bay film? Yeah. Do you have any concept of what has to fucking happen for that to get on screen? Good, bad, or indifferent? Like, it's extraordinary. Yeah. That's fucking amazing. And Dial of Destiny's the same. Like, you put on something like that with the costumes and the period pieces and the fucking the actors and the schedules and the special effects and the fucking distribution and the fucking everything else. It's extraordinary. It's extraordinary.
But it's not easier when you spend $400 million on it, though, surely.
Well, yeah, I mean...
What was the budget?
They spent a lot, Disney, on the last indie film.
$380 million? Yeah,
a lot.
No wonder they fucking... It bombed.
At this stage, it's the second most expensive production ever made. The first being the most recent Captain America film, which they estimate cost about the same, somewhere in the region.
Brave New World?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Holy shit. I think most of the money that Dial of Destiny made back was me. So I feel bad for them now.
You were the only person that's seen it 6 times. I
was the only person in the cinema a couple of those times.
Wow. I don't think I've ever seen any film in the cinema 4 times.
Oh, really?
I've seen a few 3, but
I hook in when I really like something. And one of the times it was a situation where I stayed in the cinema too long on my phone making notes for a podcast because I did
and it started playing
podcast
again?
Assemble with that, and it started again, and I was like, "Fuck it," and I just stayed. And then the other one was my fiance was
2 of those
in the
times
city,
you
and I had to pick her up one
back.
night, and to kill time, I went to the Astor and saw it because it was on. And I was like, "Fuck it, I'll just go and watch this while Em's doing her thing." What was the question, you guys?
So 2 of the times you saw this in a cinema, you watched the movie back to back. So you did 5 hours of Dial of Destiny in one hit.
Indeed. If you give me a task, like Tommy said to me, Tommy from Podcast Assemble was like, "Do you want to do Dial of Destiny?" I said, "Abso-fucking-lutely, I will go and make notes." And I did, and I had the opportunity to watch it again immediately to make more notes. So I did. Like, I don't fuck around with this podcasting business.
Don't worry, the guy, the cleaner came in and made him move his legs so he could clean up the popcorn around him.
She did. She came in and she was like getting it. I was like, "I'm just making notes," and she was like, "I'm 14 and don't give a fuck," and left. So it was awesome. was a good.
I'm surprised they didn't tap you on the shoulder and say, "Have you been here twice?" Because they know that's normally how they count. But things may
at my local cinema. I'm pretty well beloved. I had my 40th there and everything, so they just kind of, oh hey, what two are you seeing today? Usually, and I get 2 tickets.
I think the only film that I seen that month was Lord of the
Surf
Rings.
Ninjas. Yeah, no, we were talking about it. So
Lord of the Rings, the first Lord of the Rings, I saw that 5 times. But that was back in the days when movies would run in the cinema for a couple of months.
And you also knew you were waiting. You were absolutely waiting 1 year to get the next one. So you and you probably weren't going to get a chance to revisit the first one until like a week before the second one came out, and that's if you could get a copy at the video store.
Sadly, I reckon I saw. Actually, I know for a fact I saw The Phantom Menace 4 times in the cinemas. Wasn't all by choice.
Rocks. Don't say sadly. That's a great movie.
Actually, no, 5 times because it came out in 3D a few years later, and then I saw it in 3D as well. Before George sold it.
I saw Phantom Menace in the cinema 3 times. I don't think I saw it 4, but I definitely saw it 3. Yeah, because they re-released it in the cinema just before the second one came out.
What was that, Sean?
I said before George gave it over to that fucking harpy.
Yeah.
When you called her a harpy in the chat, I cackled out loud because I haven't heard anyone call anyone else a harpy since a previous life when I was a woodsman, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Someone shouted.
And she was on a stake burning.
She was. You harpy. Like, I don't have the kind of relationship with Star Wars you guys obviously do. I'm more precious about these than anything else, and even then I don't get really too excited about things. But yeah, harpy was excellent.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
No worries.
So is that it?
Yep.
Oh,
Regan I just wanted to do a quick whip around and ask everyone's favourites.
Yep.
Like in order.
Ooh.
You don't have to justify it. I'm just interested.
I mean, there is only one order in my eyes, and it goes Doom, Crusade, Raiders, Dial, and then the time I got a vasectomy by a doctor who may not have been a doctor, and then Crystal Skull. And that's the order.
So can I just ask then? Okay, so sorry, this is what tripped me up. Doom, Crusade, Raiders.
Yep.
Why Doom first? Because the order that I gave is the order that I think they are in terms of quality. My actual order starts with Doom as well. It's my favourite.
It's my favourite. That's why it's the best. It's the most fun Indiana Jones movie. It's the best adventure. Yeah. It's like the most propulsive. It's got everything you talked about. It's got like the cool sidekick. It's got the funny like characters all around him. You've got the threatening characters. You've got the horror element. You've got like Indiana Jones. Most of it is like him on his own having to save the day. No one knows shit about what's going on in that fucking temple. He's just got to be like, I guess I just got to figure this out and save these goddamn kids, and he does.
Save these fucking kids, yeah.
Yeah, it's the one I've watched more than any other. I think I couldn't even tell you how many times I've watched Temple of Doom.
Yeah, me either. It was the first one I watched. My
go-to. If I ever want an indie, the first one I'll always put on is Temple.
Love it.
And I didn't even realize for like decades it was like, oh yeah, that's actually the first one chronologically. I was like, I just watch it first because it's my favorite. I don't give a shit about that.
Set in 38, I think. Yes, okay. So Gus was Doom, Crusade, Raiders, Dial, 700 Layers of Shit, and then this. What about you, Cable?
Crusade top.
Yep.
Then Raiders.
Yep.
Then Doom. Mm-hmm. Then Kingdom, then Destiny. But in fairness to Destiny, I've only watched it the once at the cinemas. I have got a copy. I have been meaning to sit down and watch it.
You got the Blu-ray, the 4K, didn't you?
Yeah, 4K. But
right on.
I do, and that's because I'm a completist as well. But
well, you're an archaeologist. You got to find all the stuff and put it together.
I think I do have issues. I've got a bit of a bomb shelter when we talk about that film because I had a theory on something and I went down a bit of a rabbit hole and the theory was confirmed and I'm not going to say it now. I'm going to leave it for that episode.
Teaser.
Tantalising the audience there with the fingers.
Yep.
Sean?
Oh, mine's the exact same as Cable's.
So what was it? Sorry. Crusade, Raiders, Doom.
Raiders, Temple, Crystal Skull, and then Dial of Destiny.
Yeah, right. Okay. I think mine's closer to Gus's. So yeah, Temple, then Raiders. I think Raiders is a perfect movie. It's definitely a perfect screenplay. Then Crusade, even though Crusade is on par with Raiders really. And then a Dial, and then this. So it'll be interesting And then the animated one that we made up.
Yeah.
Which is someone's going to hear something like,
Which will be about Mac and him double crossing and being double agents and spies.
Indiana Jones and the Red Scare. Make it happen.
I'll watch it.
Let's watch it. Let's just write the script.
fuck yeah.
Disney will buy it, won't they?
Oodles of time.
They buy other
Hey, you know,
shit.
speaking of Disney, you know what?
They buy other
confused the
shit.
shit out of me. So Disney owns Lucasfilm, yes,
Yes, correct.
and Disney Plus, like they have everything ever. Only Dollar Destiny's on Disney Plus now. There's no other Indiana Jones movies on Disney Plus.
Yeah, so if you go, well, it's on Paramount. So I got Paramount at the moment because I was watching Dexter Original Sin, and yeah, I can watch the four indie films, but I have to buy Dial of Destiny if I wanted to watch it on streaming.
This is nothing to anything, but I just find that absurd.
Well, this is another funny thing.
All of a sudden, you can't watch Revenge of the Sith on Disney Plus. You've got to go over to fucking binge to watch that. Like,
I know Sean wants to go. Sean's got to get up early, but there was something else I actually thought about the other day. Actually, there's two things I thought about the other day about this franchise. But we're so used to the Paramount logo, right? With Indy and the transition from the Paramount and then transitioning to something else. Did you notice what they did with Doll of Destiny? They show the Paramount logo and think, Disney is still gonna, it's a half. They're gonna do this thing, and they go, no, we'll show you the Lucasfilm logo, and then it transitions into Lucasfilm logo. I'm like, why did you do that? Like, why didn't you just use the Paramount like the first 4 movies, and then they literally go to Disney and Lucasfilm again on screen? You go, you just told us about Lucasfilm twice. Like, I don't know. Anyway, that's...
And unfortunately, neither of those titles are the shape of a mountain, so you can't do anything with them.
No, that's... because I think the Lucasfilm logo turns into the padlock. I think one of the lock boxes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, because it starts with them bringing him in. I remember now you're talking about it. Okay. I'm going to go back and watch it again for 7 times.
And can I just... Actually, one of the other really cool things about Crystal Skull that we haven't mentioned is the reference to, obviously, they're at Area 51, which now we find out is where the Ark of the Covenant is put at the end of Raiders. And then it made me think, it's like, okay, at that time, even in the 80s, let's just say it's, there's a lot of shit and there's a big storage room. There's a lot of boxes for the 30s when the Ark gets put in there. Like, how much shit are the American government keeping? Is that like it was? I
also,
never
how
thought about
poorly
it before.
Secured. Like, it was so easy to break into that. Facility.
That's a whole other question too.
They shoot like one electric box and they're just in.
And a couple of dudes.
Need Elon Musk to come in and do an inventory.
Yeah.
He'd be taking all the stuff with the swastikas on it. That's for damn sure.
Don't you know what I'm saying? Like, I can imagine, like, say, you think 1981, if you're thinking about all the secrets that we've got, then, oh, geez, I'm having my own Angus story. A ghost child's walked in behind me.
Oh, no, not a ghost child.
But if you think about 1981 when Raiders was made, you go, okay, I can imagine the Americans having all these secrets and things in boxes and this big storeroom. But when the Ark was put in there in the 30s, like, what? Like, what's going on here? Like, how many secrets and boxes could the Americans have in a storage room, just locked away in a vault? Anyway.
You're joking, right?
Well, I guess they could, but it's just...
Look at that face.
On that note... Angus, come on, you're leaving me hanging.
Oh, Christ.
Note,
open your heart.
Sean
Not all
has to
sequels
go
suck. Hey, sequels suck fans.
My definition alone, they're inferior films.
I almost remade a quick warning.
Sequels suck.
This episode is spoilers.